international football just reminds us all about the reasons why we actually love football. The Premier League and like the top European leagues are way too, one, sanitized, and two, political nowadays. And international football just hits a little bit different. The intensity is different. The quality is different. It's a bit more old school. The refereeing even has been really good. Fergal is with me to review some of the moments and observations from the first round of Euros action. Great Euros.
Yeah, great start so far. It's refreshing to see a lot of long range goals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so pure, and the fans have been great so far. It's been really good.
We'll talk about some of the more old school tactics from teams that are a little bit quote unquote smaller. One of them participating for the first time. That's towards the end. But we'll start with the top teams. Mixed results there. Germany won their first two games pretty comfortably. England and France winning just about. Portugal winning in the 92nd minute. And we'll start with Roberto Martinez and Portugal because you asked a question on our little WhatsApp group of, is he actually good? And my answer
Yeah,
was, I don't really know. I've never been able to answer that question.
going in going into this, I had Portugal as the number one team. I think their squad is stacked in every position. Um, Especially up front, and midfield is really nicely balanced as well. And the lineup that he went for, this three at the back, which has Mendes at left back, which is a really attacking, obviously left centre back choice with Cancelo ahead of him. Um, like Mendes, a lot of the time ends up just being like a regular left back, and Cancelo coming into midfield. Um, so it's not necessarily a defensive three at the back, but I just looked at that team and I'm just like, this is so clearly like a nice simple 4-3-3, and I'd have Polinia at the base of it, um, being the defensive player, and then take your pick of the midfielders ahead of him. Bruno Fernandes, Vitinha, Silva. Maybe one of them has to come out, or maybe Vitinha or Silva plays right wing. Um, but like I just felt like it was a wee bit forced to play this 3-4-3. Ronaldo is really isolated. He's chosen to continue playing, even though the previous manager was trying to sort of phase him out. Ronaldo was also like, he'd be isolated, not get many touches. They wouldn't use him in the way you would a target man. There wasn't any long balls hit up to him and then somebody close by him to get the second ball, which to me is like, in this current edition of Ronaldo, is that's how I would use him. He's just a really good target man, big, strong headers, unbelievable first touch, like that. That's what you want,
Yep.
and it just seemed to be disjointed, like, and then Ronaldo would come out of his centre forward position to drop deep, not do much in the build up, and then there was nobody there taking his spot at centre forward to while he was doing that. It's a mixed one for Portugal. They just about got over the line against Czech Republic, who were unlucky not to win it. Portugal probably did deserve at least a draw.
Yeah, and then the
Um,
goal comes from a really bad error from Hancic. He just like he falls to the ground, tries to like trap it with his knees. It was really odd. I don't know if he tripped or what, but it was something I'd barely ever seen before.
the own goal before that, it was across the back post, headed across, and the goalkeeper parried it into
Oh
his own
yes,
defender,
yeah,
which I think was a worse mistake. It felt like he could have trapped it, um, but he parried it right into a dangerous area.
yeah.
The goal you're talking about, I think the defender's unlucky. I think it takes a very slight deflection just before his touch,
Okay.
and he's also, it's like 90th minute, so I think tired legs, tired head. I think he's just not been able to react in that split second to kicking the ball. Um, but yeah, like it just shows you how lucky Portugal were in that. Um, yeah, I really apparently he's been changing the formation constantly,
He
which
has.
means that he's Martinez doesn't know his best 11 and doesn't know how to get the best out of them yet. So if they're gonna win it, they're gonna grow into the tournament. And I also don't know. I'd be interested to see if Ronaldo um starts the next game.
Oh, I think he will.
Like I'd imagine he will, but I don't know if it's the right decision. I still see him as like ideally, unless you're gonna play a bit longer and use him like that. I I think he's an incredible super sub. He like I think he could give Veghorst a run for his money in terms of super subs. But yeah, that's the way I would think would be he how he'd be best used. It just didn't seem to work. And then annoyingly, I think it was the BBC done it, showed the match over here, and they were all talking him up, Ronaldo, as to how good of a game he had, and I was like, he didn't necessarily do. Ronaldo himself didn't necessarily play bad, but he didn't play that good, and they showed like two good chances he had,
I think one was like
both
that
were
early header. Really
yeah,
difficult header as well. Barely a highlight.
yeah, it was impressive that he got anything on that one. But there was two big chances that were offside, and they still like
Yeah.
gave him credit for them. It's like, well, it's a redundant shot. It was offside, so like, what? Why are you giving him praise for
Yeah,
that?
but
Like, it's not.
the movement,
It's
Fergal.
like he was 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. It was offside. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even go down as a shot.
That's true. From one manager that doesn't know their 11 to another, Gareth Southgate. I wouldn't think he knows his 11 yet. I know,
No,
I
I'd
know he
agree.
knows he wants to play Luke Shaw as soon as possible because that Kieran
Yeah.
Trippier experiment is just not working. Like the right-footed left back and left-footed left winger was excruciating to watch. It was just very confused. But the thing I do want to focus in on is the Trenton midfield thing. Honestly, I've never seen it. I still don't see it. I think it's slightly in part built on a certain narrative that isn't necessarily true, that he's weak defensively. He's England's best right back still, and he should play at right back. He broke a Premier League assist record from right back with Liverpool, and with Liverpool, he's played this season with Gomez at left back. So you literally have a proper right back, one of the best right backs in the world, and one of the main left backs for Liverpool because Andy Robertson was injured for such a long time this season, who did a fantastic job. I think Joe Gomez is the Liverpool player of the season. I've said that before, been consistent on it. But the midfield thing, it wasn't tried enough. It feels like experimentation, which there is some room for experimentation in the Euros group stage because 3 teams qualify. The group is easy enough; they should qualify from it. But there was time there, in my opinion, to figure what Trent's best use is because you have to play Trent. That's clear. But why just not play Trent right back? Bring Conor Gallagher in. Perfect double pivot with Declan Rice. Him and Declan Rice have probably similar properties. So once it's one goes, perfectly, dynamic double pivot there.
Yeah.
And then, the front three, Marcus Rashford should probably have been called up, and in a different world he would have been if it wasn't for his United performances this season. But
Or Sterling.
do you think Anthony Gordon should come in, or what should happen there? I had an idea of playing the 3 number 10 like Germany do, but this is like it's a very different structure to what Southgate does now, so it probably will never happen.
Well, I still think like he should drop the double pivot. If we're gonna try and like fit the team into the current formation that they're playing, I think yeah, something like what you said probably makes sense. Um, there's kind of like rules to it though. It's like, right, if you're like one rule is the guy, if you're being realistic about it, Gareth Southgate is going to play a double pivot. Second rule is he's going to play Kyle Walker. Unless something goes terribly wrong, I don't think he's going to drop Kyle Walker.
But I think you
So
should.
I know you think he should. That's what I'm saying. So like, are we doing like what a realistic 11 here, or are we doing our own opinion? Because I would change quite a lot, what I would just go to a 4-3-3 with Rice at the base, Bellingham, Foden in the center, the two eights. That might be too attacking for the latter stages, but I'd be testing it out in the group. I would have tested out
In
for the
previous
past 6
international
months. Yeah,
international breaks, yeah.
but with the form these guys are on, I don't know how you're not playing both Foden and Bellingham in their best positions. Now, you could argue that it's not actually their position because for for both clubs, they're playing in a way more attacking, whereas if they both played eight, then they're going to have to do a bit more defensive work.
Mm.
But I think they're good enough players to do that. Foden probably the slightly more attacking. Belling can just do a bit of everything. And then, but with that, then you would need to put basically a centre back in at left back probably. So Gomez would come in. You can maybe fit Trent in there as well. And then yes, and then that would mean that I would have Anthony Gordon at left wing, or I was thinking even Watkins at left wing.
Mm.
Because the biggest the biggest thing seemed to be that there wasn't that running behind that Sterling and Rashford were given, and I feel like in the team, I feel like Watkins is probably the player that would do that, and then he also gives like an aerial threat at the back post. That I could see Saka cutting in and crossing to. But Anthony Gordon, yeah, no, is definitely a great option. But they're not too far away, England. But it's tweaks. But it was a terrible performance. Like they're
The second half performance was shaky, to
yeah,
say the least.
they're gonna have to grow into it, but at the same time, it kind of suits this Southgate England team to just get the win for the first game and then build on it. But yeah, the left side just felt like very unbalanced. Like Trippier's right-footed, but kind of wants to be quite wide, and then Foden's left-footed, but then wants to be quite narrow.
Narrow.
It's it it and in theory, you're like, oh, that should make sense because Trippier will cut inside because he's right-footed, and Foden will give widths for it because
Flapping.
he's left-footed. Yeah, it doesn't quite work.
Yeah. He's desperate for Luke Shaw to come back. Okay, listen to this transition. Speaking of left backs, we didn't expect to play this tournament. Maximilian Mittelstadt of Germany. I love that guy because you know why? Because Toni Kroos drops as deep as the midfield as the center backs. It's built up. It's back three, but then Ruben Andrich and Ilkay Gundogan become kind of the two in front of him, and then Florian Wirtz and Musiala become two number 10s.
Yeah.
And Mittelstadt has to do so much work because also Joshua Kimmich will invert to allow Gundogan to join the attack, but Mittelstadt has that left-hand side all on his own. And the work rate alone is impressive. But he's also just been really good in possession and getting himself in areas to cross and actually connecting one or two of those crosses every game. Each of those two
It
games.
sounds it sounds like that would be a potential weak link for the Germans then to an area of the pitch that another team could get at.
But it's not. I
You think he's got it locked down?
I think he's got a lockdown. I think Germany have been just so comfortable so far. They haven't been tested yet.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how if they get tested by a bigger
Switzerland, I think,
side
will
that
be
like in England that have a really strong right hand side. How Mittelstadt might
yeah.
deal with that. But so far so good. One more team that's considered favorites, France, are losing Kylian Mbappe for at least the rest of the group stages. Do you see his nose?
Yeah,
Yeah.
nasty.
Yeah, very bad.
Yeah, I'd hate to break something. It must be awful. Um,
For context, he's actually in a bed right now. Yeah, it's
yeah,
not pretty.
yeah. Well, I am fine now.
Good, good.
I'm on the mend.
Yes.
But if I was France, I wouldn't be rushing them back. You know, it's like just let him rest as much as he can until they actually need him in the knockouts. Um, maybe see how he is for the last game. Like it does seem like you are able to just play with a mask, but I would let it heal a little bit before rushing him back. I'm sure he wants to play every game, but I would keep him on the bench for the next game if he's needed and bring him on.
Oh, he's not playing this game.
Yeah, I think that's sensible. They've because they've got that first win. Worst comes to worst, they only need a draw, and they'll probably qualify for the group stages. So, which you'd imagine they won't lose a game in this group. Austria looked a decent side, just to mention. They're unlucky, and again France with a slow start. So you're like, they've done this before and then won the World Cup. So like you're not as worried about France as you are Portugal and England. But yeah, it's interesting the choices Deschamps makes in midfield with Rabiot and Kante instead of like the Champions League winning midfielders of Camavinga and Tchouaméni. Uh, he clearly has his favourites. He prefers experience um and so he's going to pick those guys, and he's going to be more defensive in his selection as well. He also loves a double pivot, but it was lovely to see Kante
It was
boss it
amazing.
and get man of the match, and it just shows like as a Chelsea fan, you're like in the latter stages of his time at Chelsea, he did have those performances, but um they, they were he would have a good performance, then he'd be played loads, and then because he was played loads, the performances just dropped off slightly or he'd get injuries. But like as soon as he got a rest and came back for that first game, he was unbelievable again in that first game. Like, his minutes just needed to be managed better. Um, and I saw a tweet recently about the injury he got at Chelsea. It was like I might quote this wrong, but it's like a grade 3 pulled hamstring or whatever, which means it has to be like reattached back on
Yeah,
to the bone,
yeah.
which is incredibly rare and ridiculous to have in football. Like this is what the tweet was saying. It's like,
Michael
you,
Owen had it, and I think it was the injury that effectively ended Michael Owen's peak.
yeah, Michael Owen said like he can never confidently run at full pace because he just felt like it would go. Um, but um, But yeah, it's ridiculous that Kante got that injury. That's just from being played too much and not being managed.
Yeah.
And like, and now he's not going to be able to play at that level for as long as he should have really. Um, we've probably lost a season of him being at the very very top because of that.
Yeah.
But it's hopefully he continues to have an unbelievable tournament. One of the one and only, I would say, defensive top class defensive midfield short king. I can't think of any other short kings that hold a candle to him.
Yeah. Is a defensive midfielder now. If there was a short king of the first round, he'd probably get it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah.
can do the
We
award
weren't
at the
even
end.
we weren't even gonna do that, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's do it then. Let's do it. Short king of the
Short king of
round.
the round.
And
Can't they? Congratulations.
congratulations, go Kante, short king of the first round of the Euros 2024. Okay, we'll move on to just a quick observation about Switzerland, because one of the kind of Twitter talks is that this
Mhm.
tournament is really good because there have been really good performances from classic fullbacks, and I fully agree. This inverted stuff is tiresome. I like to see with from fullbacks. Fullbacks, that should be their role, and there are so many strengths to it. And it provides the chance for more numbers to go into the box with your inverted wingers and that sort of thing. If you're playing a back three, wing backs are great as long as they have the the lungs to lock down a side, like Maximilian Mittelstadt, although he's not a wing back, but he's effectively been playing as one. There is a wing back though in Switzerland who has taken this inverted stuff to the extreme, to the point where I actually liked to see it, because there's a guy called Michel Abischer. I hadn't heard of him. I hadn't heard of him until the game against the opening game against Hungary, and he started at wingback. He's actually a center mid, which I learned later in the day. But he started at wingback, and then his assist was from the middle, and his goal was from the middle, because they played a back three: Fabian Schär, Manuel Akanji, and Ricardo Rodriguez, who would go as the right left back. So I really liked this kind of idea. So it shifts, like, have the back three defensively and the beginning phases of build up, and then as it progresses, it turns into a back four, classic fullbacks. So yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, I actually, in that game, I'm looking at Rodriguez, and the one thing I remember about Rodriguez from FIFA was that he was quite a good free kick taker, and he one of the he was like one of the left backs you try and sign because he was
Yeah.
quite good, decent potential, that sort of thing. And he got into, like you said, he got into a lot of like left back, edge of the box positions out wide. He didn't seem to cross it an awful lot. There was a couple of times a lovely ball was laid back to him. He just like wrap your foot around that, and like because I was aware of like the sort of player he is, I was expecting him to do that, but for whatever reason he didn't seem to. He's definitely transitioned into those wide centre backs that are more common in the game at the moment. Yeah, a lot of back threes this tournament as well.
Yeah, which is understandable because you don't want to lose, so you put more defenders on. So
Yeah,
football associations will tend to hire managers that prefer back three because they're probably quite more defensive and secure.
yeah. It's probably as you said though, it's interesting that or it's good that it's more defensive, and that they're being more innovative about how those positions move. It was one of the things, like, just to go back to Portugal, I noticed I don't feel like it worked out so well though. It was the left side of Mendes, Cancelo, and Leao. It if whenever players are inverting, like Cancelo is, and then Mendes on the outside, and then Leao is a winger, so Leao could go outside or onto his preferred right foot on the inside.
Yeah.
And unless it's really coordinated, whenever players start to invert from positions, sometimes they just get in each other's way, and it's more likely to happen with inverting. I think, or
Yeah,
like
it's true.
when wing backs or full backs are inverting, and I do wonder if, like as you said, sometimes the fullbacks should just give width, and especially at international level when you have less time to really hone in on like on coordination, how teams should move in the build up and that sort of thing, and especially if you're like Portugal and you've changed your team numerous times, that sort of coordination might not be there.
Fullbacks that attacked and held entire sides.
Mhm.
Turkey. Turkey's fullbacks were phenomenal. Probably the best two fullback performances of the first round, even though it is against Georgia. That whole entire game, anyway. So just to begin with, that game
Mhm.
is the peak football experience for numerous reasons. One, it's international football, and we all know that international football is 10 times what club football is. It's the main form of football, and club football is actually just preparation for international tournaments. In my opinion, that's how I
Yeah,
see it.
we all know that. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, we all know that. It's common knowledge. Two,
yeah.
the fans, 80,000 of them, the sound just came through. Two actually really good teams, and incredibly intense teams that would go for every ball. Like, they just have an innate built-in passion that wasn't present in any other game in the tournament, and we've had so many really good games. And then it culminated with 22 shots for Turkey and 14 for Georgia. And 3 of the goals, the 3-1 goal is obviously an empty net from, a late corner, and the goalkeeper wasn't in goal. But the 3 goals, especially the 2 Turkey ones, were some of the better games in the tournament. Mert Mulder's goal is my preferred goal of the tournament so far.
So I just Guler's one is ridiculous.
Guler's one is good, and I will give it all the respect it deserves, but it's much easier to execute. Now, hear me out. It's tough to execute. It's really difficult in that distance, that speed, the accuracy couldn't have been more top corner. But it's on the ground, and he had a lot of time to measure it. Mulder hit it top corner, but with very little time to react to the flight of the ball and what sort of technique he's going to hit it with. And it's from a fair way out as well. It's just on the edge of the area, wasn't it? So it's harder.
I'm just watching it back here. Yeah, it pops up lovely for him is the only thing. But it's right on the line of in the box.
It does pop up well for him, but I think most players would blast that over the bar. Or bring it down.
It's incredible. With how hard he hits it as well, it's impressive that he's kept it down. It's straight as an arrow as I'm watching it back here.
Yeah.
What I liked about Guler's one is that he clearly uses the defender that's closing him down as a marker to curl around
him.
She just goes right around the defender, right into the top corner. Another number 10, as we were saying, that is that's young and incredible. Hopefully more of that come from him. Georgia, you take the floor about Georgia? They done all right, Mr. Georgia analysis over here.
Man, well, not exactly, but obviously a lot of the players on there are very familiar from a year ago because I watched a lot of Georgian football over last year because I was an intern with Dinamo Tbilisi. It was great to see Anzor Mikvabishvili, who was the number 6 in the starting lineup. Not number 6 literally, but the defensive midfielder. He used to play for Dinamo Tbilisi and transferred to Romania. It was great to see at the end. Unfortunately, he's the one that lost the ball for the goal, but Sandro Altunashvili, he used to play for Dinamo Batumi, who are Dinamo Tbilisi's rivals. But I used to enjoy watching him, actually. And it was great to see them actually play in really big stadiums, because if you watch the Georgian league, Georgian football in general, it's not the best. It's not played in the best stadiums. It's played on essentially cow pastures in front of 200 people. It's that sort of league. Then also, just tactically, Willie Saniol is their manager. But it was actually pretty fluid. That I was wondering how the midfield 3 would, alternate roles, because Mikvabishvili is a sort of a playmaker, but you can't play a playmaker as the number 6 and just expect him to defend. But Kochorishvili, the actual number 6, he was more of the box-to-box guy, and he made a run into the area, put one onto the crossbar from about 8 yards out. It was really unlucky. And he would help out defensively, drop in a double pivot sometimes with Mikvabishvili. Mikvabishvili, they're really hard to pronounce these names. Would advance forward.
You won't hear me say one of the names.
Chakvitadze, when Altunashvili came on, he had a really good game, but then he had to sacrifice him, just for the fresh legs. But when he came off, I was like, wow, he had a really good game. He didn't deserve to come off there. Because every single one of those players didn't deserve to come off from either side. It was amazing. Yeah. I loved watching that game, even though I was watching it on replay because I couldn't watch it live. So I watched it, knowing the score, knowing the goal scorers, knowing who scored when, but it was still just an amazing experience to watch. Also, very quick shout out to Abdulkarim Bartakci. But yeah, he had an
Oh
amazing game
yeah,
as well.
he's almost like the photo people going to Turkey for cosmetic surgery would show. Like I can imagine like a balding man going going to Turkey and going, I want his hair, please. I want that jawline. I want that beard, please.
Yeah,
Um,
I wouldn't disagree either. Also, his center back partner, the goal line save he had at the end there that led to the corner that led to the Turkey third goal. It hit his head rather than him defending it, actually flicking it over. But also a crazy performance. Even though Georgia had 14 shots and were very close to equalize at the end.
oh, I'm gonna bring it back to Ireland again very briefly.
Yeah, go on.
Watching Georgia. We've had Georgia in so many campaigns recently. It feels like for the past 10 years, every other campaign Georgia's drawn with us in a Nations League or a qualifier. And it's like watching Georgia. That's the level. That's the minimum level Ireland should be at. If Georgia can progress amazingly like they have, and now have players at the very top level of the game, and then being able to put a very coherent team performance at the Euros, like that. That's the goal for all the smaller, lesser nations like Ireland. That's what you should be aiming for. And the reason that they're in this tournament is because of the Nations League, and the way it gives the one qualifying spot per division. So the bottom division is where Georgia have qualified from, and it's not like they're getting run over and demolished. Well, they haven't done yet anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
they're really putting up, and they could have won that game if it wasn't for two unbelievable strikes, and they maybe put one more chance away. So it's great to see like nations like Georgia get to the tournament and really do themselves proud.
Yeah, it was amazing. Every single one from either side. Even though the game was there was a chance it was gonna get called off because of the Old Trafford style waterfalls from the.
I
Uh,
saw someone on Twitter said, Sancho must be sealing the roof. This
so
can't be a coincidence.
yeah, right. That's the end of this particular video episode. I don't know what to call it, but yeah, we'll try to do them again every round. So Fergal, I'll see you later, my brother.
See ya. Bye.